I'm building the fastest college team ever, and at the moment there's nobody on this roster, so we need to start searching for the fastest players in the country. And let me tell you, I thought I was pumped up for our left end, because Georgia's Mikael Williams is a 92 overall, one of the best, but right above him, the fastest left end in the country is Jack Moran, and he has 95 speed, but he's only a 65. Some say he's related to Alex Moran. He should be a backup, but he's gonna have to become our starter because he's the fastest player at that position in the country. And his stats are not gonna cut it for the team that I have to build, because by the time that I'm done completely building our roster, I'm putting all of these guys on a team in Dynasty, and we have to somehow win a national championship with them. Theoretically, speed should be helping us out, but as we scroll up to find the fastest centers in the country, you're gonna see we're missing out on starting an 87 overall because there's a 68. And how this will work is we'll still get Logan Jones as a backup center, but he's probably never gonna see the field. All because some developer at EA decided that this kid, the freshman center, was somehow the fastest center in the country, giving him 77 speed. I can finally bring some good news to the fastest team in the country though. You all know him, Nick Harbor, South Carolina's receiver, 6'5", 235, and he is 99 speed and 99 excel. We still have 5 other receivers that we have to add to our roster as well, but there is literally no way that we could go wrong with this first pick. Even if he is a 78 overall, he is a former 5-star recruit. He also has platinum takeoff as an ability. It's the speed and size that's the biggest factor though. Later on when building our team, we'll find out who else we're going to be using with him. I'm going to guess Barian Brown from Kentucky, but if he's not in that top 3, he probably won't be out there much. With a huge offensive player out of the way though, now I'm curious who's going to be my user on defense. Who do I get to run around with? And there's 2 answers at the middle linebacker position, but the main one is Raylan Wilson. He plays for Georgia. His coverage stats and everything else isn't the best, but look at this, 94 speed. You simply cannot go wrong with that. And our other option is Jaron Kanak. We actually had him in the video last year whenever we did this on NCAA Football 14, and then EA put him in the game with 93 speed. They're certainly going to be useful additions to our defense, but I also have to consider we're trying to build a championship level roster right now, and I'm not sure how much that's going to elevate us, especially after starting a 65. One thing we always have to factor in though is things could always be worse. For this position, both Garrison Madden and Jaron were tied with 93 speed, and also this kid, Devin Jackson from Oregon. I think he was in our video last year. But anyway, when it comes down to tiebreakers in this video, if they're tied in speed, it'll go to the highest kid with acceleration, and if they're tied in acceleration as well, the kid with the higher overall makes our roster. That's how the tiebreakers will work to determine starters as well. So here at the free safety position, we have 3 options with 97 speed, but it's going to be the lowest overall that has the highest acceleration. I certainly was not expecting this, but that is right. You are seeing things correctly. We are going to be having a white defensive back starting on the fastest team in the country. The last time I saw a safety like that was Troy Apke on like Madden 20, but the picture isn't doing him any favors either. That is our starting free safety. This defense needs some better players. Even our backup at that position isn't much better, just a 79 overall. He plays for Oregon, but I am curious. These 95 overall free safeties are so much slower than them. Maybe the quarterback position can serve us right though. We're going to see Jalen Milroe's name up there. I'm not sure how many slots are remaining. There's 1, 2, and 3. Which means Jalen Milroe, who would have been a ton of fun to play with, has just missed the cut because we have a 69 overall and a 71 that are going to operate as our 2 backups. Now, I'm not going to reveal QB1 just yet. You're going to have to wait for that, but you can make guesses in your head. If you've played the game a bunch, maybe you know who the fastest quarterback in the country is. And I was thinking, as his coach, it'd be nice to make sure our quarterback has protection on him at all times. So we're looking at the offensive line, trying to add a couple more players, but we have a 61 overall and then a 76 overall starting at right tackle. This would only be a good addition if we were playing out an entire dynasty. He's a 6'6" freshman, former 4-star recruit, but he has not progressed to where he needs to be, and we're only playing 1 season. I shouldn't have complained though, because Cody Fox, 72 overall, is what we're working with at the right guard position. He's going to come in at 75 speed, one of the fastest guards in the country. But I would have much rather preferred Iowa's other right guard, Connor Colby. He's a 90 overall, and I'm not sure how they're even deciding speed, especially for the offensive line positions. Are they just making it up? At the moment, it feels like we have so many freshmen out there that have probably barely played so far in their career. But our bad luck is going to finally end. Now, I'm not sure how much it's going to impact us because this is the fullback position. We're going to barely use him, but we have Navy's fullback Alex Tezka at 86 speed. There is no telling whether or not we're going to end up having an option offense in this video. It seems like it'd be effective for one of the fastest teams in the country, and his stats obviously look pretty impressive. But it is very hard to have much faith in this offense when he's our best player at the current moment. moment. Looking over at the defensive side of the ball, we know that things also are not perfect over here. And that's why I've decided to see who we're going to have at defensive tackle. Speed-wise, I'm not expecting them to be that quick. There was a 95 overall that we're missing out on, and the fastest defensive tackles in the country are both 68. All I'm going to say is right now, I have like zero faith in myself to be able to win a championship with this team, especially with the conference I'm going to put them in. And normally, I'd tell you that speed is everything in football video games, but looking at our current roster, I don't know if it's going to work. You know what though? It is about time that we see what we're working with at the halfback position. There is not going to be anybody that's 99 speed in this game. I'm seeing a 71 up here, but his acceleration is actually the lowest of these four. With how the tiebreakers have worked out, Chris Johnson Jr. will be our starting running back. I think he was in last year's video as well. He has a shocking 98 speed, 98 acceleration. Everything else though is kind of mid. Then right behind him, we have San Diego State's Keenan Kristen. He's going to be the highest overall running back at an 81 overall, but his abilities also don't look great. In fact, if I want to find a good ability on our running backs, I have to go to our third stringer, Rayshawn Luke. He plays for Arizona, and you're going to see he has stuff like 95 change of direction, which comes with some amazing bonuses. Although the mental abilities are lacking, he doesn't have any there. On the physical side of things, he has shifty, which is better changing of direction. He has 360, which is also really good. And I should be stoked to have him, but I feel like as a third stringer, we're probably never going to use him, maybe once or twice throughout the entire year. This entire team just feels like a mess at the moment, but we have found our second 99 speed player that's going to be a corner for us. It's Roderick Pleasant. He plays for the Ducks. And unfortunately, when you get guys from Oregon, they're just not familiar with winning national championships, but maybe his speed's going to come in and actually help us out. I can tell you right now, though, it's getting hard to look at this defense without having a starter that's above an 82 overall, so we're going to keep on filling it out until we finally find one. And the player that you are currently looking at, without disrespecting him, is one of the saddest additions we could have possibly found. He has stats like 47 power moves, but he has 94 speed. And I know that his overall inside Dynasty might have said that he's just a 54 overall, but we might have been blessed, because for whatever reason on the rosters outside of Dynasty, he's listed as a 64 overall. It is still not good. Right behind him is backups is 67, but at least it's 10 overalls higher than what I thought it was going to be. And I'm starting to just accept that we might have to score on every single possession if we want to win any games. You know what would help with scoring though? A good tight end. Last year, whenever we did this, we got Brock Bowers out of this. This time we are getting a 76 overall and an 81 Avery Boyd, 91 speed. It could be worse. But somehow in Dynasty, this kid is a 49 overall, so I'm hoping we don't have to deal with that. His catching stats, his receiving stats actually don't look bad. It's getting to that point though, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Once we fill up our offensive line, the only thing that's going to be left is the most important positions. And it's taken all video, but we are finally going to have a player that is a 90 plus overall that's actually starting for us. He's a left tackle, but I will take it. That is right. He might not be the best left tackle in the country, but he is near the top, and whenever you search by speed, he's up there before this huge tiebreaker with 73 speed. But after comparing accelerations and overalls and such, it looks like Anthony Belton from NC State is going to be our backup tackle, though I don't think those positions matter. Maybe for a couple plays or two, or if we had a bunch of injuries, but here at the left guard position, the fastest options we're dealing with are both just above a 70 overall, which is a lot less exciting. And you all know how blocking works in this game. With an offensive line like this, we're going to have maybe 1.5 seconds back there in the pocket. I will admit though, over on the other side of the ball, I have held back some of the better news. We're about to get some great defensive players. At the left outside linebacker position, we have Harold Perkins Jr. LSU's 92 speed linebacker is going to be a beast. We also have Sonny Styles beneath him. There was this 53 overall that was tied with him on speed, but you all know the tiebreaker. His acceleration was lower, so we have great guys at these positions. I just wish we could start Sonny Styles over at right outside linebacker since we don't have good guys over there. I'm staying committed to building this team the way we have from the start though. We're going to have to just have Alonzo Jackson Jr. out there. This video is more about how far can you take the fastest team, not a good team full of fast players. And anytime we can get somebody like Harold Perkins Jr., it is going to be a great plus, but I can't say that it's going to be a necessity. I am just trying to imagine and tell myself that speed is all that's going to matter, because at strong safety, we have this kid, King Mack, and he has 98 speed. It's great for a safety, but he's just a 78 overall. When you compare him to his peers at this position though, he is a 3-speed lead on everybody else. I think this is the biggest difference we've seen so far. Keaton Crawford's actually going to be the backup, and I would have loved an 87 overall starting for us, but that is not how this video is going to work. It's about time that we address the wide receiver position though. Nick Harbor has 99 speed, and then you have this massive tiebreaker for kids with 98 speed. It is massive, and their accelerations are also going to be pretty close to tied up. But just one of those names did have 99 excel, and you have to know him if you watch watched my channel by this point. It's Barry and Brown. I don't care he's transferring from Kentucky. We're going to get to use him one more time. And when you have him on the other side of Nick Harbor, if we have enough time to throw the ball, this is a lethal duo. It only gets better from here as well. You see Isaiah Bond. This means he is our third receiver. He is the third fastest player in college football 25. And the talent doesn't stop there. We're also going to have Arian Smith. He might drop the ball a lot, but he's our fourth receiver. So whenever he's out there, maybe he'll make a good play. Plus, we're also going to have Monterey Baldwin at wide receiver 5, and then Jordan Anthony for wide receiver 6. That is going to close out the rest of the receiver core. That was a lot of additions at once to just throw onto this team, but the only position left on our offense is now the quarterback. So before I reveal who's going to be leading this team, let's fill out the rest of the roster first. When it comes to the cornerback position, you're going to see Damani Jackson is corner number 2, right behind Roderick Pleasant. He's actually pretty good, 88 overall. Then we have Julian Humphrey out of the slot. After him, it's going to be a 69, but he has 98 speed. And there is a huge tiebreaker for all the corners that have 97 speed, but whenever you look over acceleration, you look over at overalls, you're going to see that Jalen from Alabama takes the final spot. That means that Alabama's cornerback room alone has 2 of the fastest 5 cornerbacks in this game. And I wasn't lying about Damani Jackson being a great addition for this team. He can play zone coverage, he can play man coverage, but really, he can run with anybody. I'm actually excited to see if we can get away with press man-to-man coverage throughout this video to hopefully get us a championship, because it hasn't necessarily worked on the game for me yet. And before I reveal what is the best position group in this entire roster, let's talk about special teams. I don't think these guys are going to be fast enough for us to pull off any fake plays. In fact, I'm actually really upset that our kicker's only going to be a 64 overall. But this is what we're stuck with. EA decided that Leighton Simmering was somehow the fastest kicker in the entire country. At the punter position, I highly doubt things are going to get much better. We have 82 speed on Jackson Ross. He's Tennessee's. And unfortunately, even if he is the fastest at his position, he's still one of the slowest players on the field. One of the biggest reveals, though, is this right end position. You're going to see Abdul Carter, absolute monster. We saw that in the playoffs. He is the fastest right end in the country. Then behind him, you have Tennessee's James Pierce Jr. They are both very high overalls. And if for whatever reason he needs to take a play or two off, we know that the backup right behind him is going to be incredible. If they weren't on our defensive line, I can only imagine how much time other teams would have back there in the pocket. It's at least going to give us a chance to generate some pressure. And we have made it this far. It is time to reveal the final player that will be on the fastest team in college football 25. With the current offensive line that we have, this guy needs to be able to outrun pressure. It is Nate Johnson coming in with 95 speed, 95 acceleration. And it would also be much appreciated if he had a strong arm so he can just throw the ball up, but his throw power is only going to be 88, which could hold us back. It's official though. We know the roster that we're going to have to try and use to win a championship in a dynasty season. And I can finally reveal what team we'll be using. It's going to be South Dakota State. This is the roster that I've gotten over to this team, but there is a twist. I've put South Dakota State in the Big Ten alongside North Dakota State on one of my previous rebuild files, so this is going to be very challenging. Because the season prior to this, I won it all with North Dakota State, and we also have other great teams in here like Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio State, Penn State. You know how it's going to go. If we're going to win a championship, the schedule is not looking too ideal. There's going to be plenty of ranked teams on it. This team's going to have to play as good as it possibly can. But at least we have a little bit of a warm-up game because our first one is against an FCS school before we take on Oregon. It is time for the fastest possible team in the game to take the field. And we know the offensive line is our biggest issue, but I think if we get players out in space, we're going to have a field day. As we get around him, Chris Johnson is already almost gone, but he gets caught. I can already tell that we're going to be just fine in this matchup. Alex Tezka gets the carry, our fullback. And one thing I should probably try to do with Nate Johnson at some point is just run in for a touchdown. I mean, it can't be hard. Now we get to play around with our defense, see what's going to work throughout this entire season. And I think I'm just going to be as aggressive as I can possibly get. They have no time. Whenever it comes to our press man-to-man coverage, it is simply just going to lock up. Here we're going to throw it up to Nick Harbor. I want to see if we can make the aggressive catch. He still hangs on, but he's also 6'5". He can literally outrun anybody, and this is going to be cake. As we get into the fourth quarter, we have given up a couple field goals, but besides that, we are just dominating. I mean, look at Chris Johnson Jr. go. And the Jackrabbits are starting this season 1-0. I will admit, though, there were some flaws to how our defense played after that touchdown. And even if Nate Johnson had a great game right here, that gets me kind of nervous for what we could experience this following week against the Ducks. This will be a true test for this offense, especially the offensive line, to see if they can hold up up against a better team. And on the defensive side of things, I'm not sure how Alonzo Jackson Jr. is going to hold up for us at right outside linebacker since his only good stat is 94 speed. At least when it comes to our pass rush, I still think we can generate good pressure because of Abdul Carter, but we'll see how this all plays out in this next one. What I really don't want to happen is getting held to a 3 and out. You can just tell from the cuts how fast we really are. And it might not hurt to just throw up some deep balls, see what we can get to happen. If this is placed well, it would have been a touchdown, but they swat it. And I could not tell you why I thought that was about to work out for us, but Barry and Brown press man-to-man coverage right here. We're gonna drop the football. That really sums up how this one started for us. It's gonna be 17-0. And at the moment, I'm not feeling as confident as I was when we were going in. It turns out our offensive line can't hold up, and then they're actually fast enough to stop us from running. But I have a plan, and it involves just throwing it up and hoping that it goes far enough because finally, Barry and Brown actually catches it. The only issue is it took us a quarter and a half to even get that look. So it's not going to happen all the time. And I am trying to send in some blitzes with the fastest team. There we go. That is what we needed right there. We're going to do it again. We are just generating pressure. And I might have figured out how this team could get some clutch stops whenever we need it. It is 4th and 40. Have you ever put a team on 4th and 40 before? Because that's got to be a record for me on this game. With Anthony, we are going to get stuck. But I thought that return was going to go a lot better. We're going to just throw one up to Nick Harbor. It's a very slow throwing motion that doesn't help us out too much. And Nate Johnson also only has 88 throw power, which means we're going to have to try to do stuff on the ground as well to win. Here we go for the final play of the half. The expectations are not too high. They're screaming. And this is exactly what I was afraid of. Because I had to create all these players to get them on this one team, unfortunately, that means nobody comes with any of their abilities. And that makes everybody a lot easier to stop, especially our wide receivers, though Chris Johnson Jr. had a good little run. I feel like I need to look over in Isaiah Bond's direction, though. I haven't really done that in this video yet, except we're finding Barry and Brown, which might seem great, but they would score the next 11 straight points. We're dropping it. And as we start this 4th quarter, I'm kind of just expecting us to lose to Oregon now. What am I doing? They'd kick another field goal. We're literally down by 20 points. Barry and Brown seems to beat the press a lot better than Nick Harbor. We'll take a 3rd touchdown with him. But this extremely risky defense has only worked so often for us, especially whenever their quarterback just runs off the blitz. It blows my mind that he's actually able to get away with that, and now they're completing a pass going all the way to the 20. No, they're breaking the tackle. This is what we're dealing with. We're playing with a team that literally doesn't have a defense, and it is about to be a very long season for us as they get the 2-pointer. For whatever reason, I want to believe that this game is not over. Nick Harbor's just not doing what I need him to, and I might just have to send up one final heave to Barry and Brown, though he's open with the slant, and that ball's thrown so behind that they get the interception. We can't do it. All of my hope for winning a championship with this team just went out the window. But we did find a couple things that worked in our favor. And I am not one to give up a challenge that easily, so we're just going to have to bounce back at number 12 West Virginia. If there's any takeaway from playing against Oregon, anytime Barry and Brown is on a streak, he gets open like 50% of the time. Which means we're going to have him on streaks all game, and if there is no safety help, we're just going to throw it up, though Nate Johnson's arm is so weak. That's a problem. You could also say I should be using his 95 speed. I was trying to pull it with the read option, and I wanted to audible to something a little bit different than just straight 4 verticals, but that's what we're going with. We got the throw out with the dude in our face, and Nick Harbor has done something. Finally, I saw the way all 240 pounds of him just shoved his way through that corner, and legitimately, like, this poor little dude never stood a chance. From the looks of it, we have figured out our offense defensively. Sometimes we should be getting sacks. How was he still standing after that? I mean, we did eventually take him down, but that was ridiculous. Now with Anthony on the kick return, I've juked back to this left side. I don't think that we can outrun everybody. We can. But that was a filthy move on his part. And look at this. We are just able to beat their coverage if the pass is good enough. We need to be putting it deep in them 24/7. We can also still try to run it, but those long passes are what's been working for us, and we're going to go up 14-3. Even though we're on the road, this already feels so much better than what we dealt with last week. But it hasn't taken long for West Virginia to figure out what we're doing and start stopping us a lot. I feel like I blinked, and all of a sudden, we were down 30-14 going into the half, though right here, Isaiah Bond gets us back in it. And knowing how bad our defense is, I am more than willing to chase points. Right here, we're not going to run it in. We're going to pass it, and we're in. The problem, though, is the longer that this game goes on for, the more that we just can't take a lead. And it's because of our defense. I really don't know what else to do. Right here, yeah, that's a bad pass from me. Red meter. I'm not sure why I thought that was open. I'm also a bit of the problem. But thankfully, a couple plays later, we have forced an interception, and I'm not going to make any read. I'm just throwing it to Barry and Brown. There's been a large majority of this game where that actually was not there for us to take. But then they just decide that they're going to give it to us, and look at that blitz. I do think I'm going to have to turn off wear and tear, though, because this roster only has like 35, 40 players on it, and I don't know if that's going to be sustainable. I've already noticed that anytime I hop out there on defense, our entire unit is just gas. There's not a single player that isn't tired. Isaiah Bond had a cool little cut. So I'm probably going to mess with the settings after this one. We're trying to get this to Nick Harbor though, and he holds on. That's the one part about this game that I wish was a bit more balanced. Wear and tear could have been a great feature. Nate Johnson hasn't done much running, but right here he goes to the 3. And here we go. Although we've given up 44 points, we're about to have a lead. One thing you probably haven't seen out of me is much coverage, but we're trying to do that on this 3rd and 10 that they are not going to pick up. And you best believe that once we have control of a game, we should be fine. The more aggressive they get to try and get us off the field, the easier it's going to be for us to pick stuff up. And on 3rd and inches, we aren't getting the blocks that we need. This is why we have Alex Tezca though. I'm going to trust him. He's going to get it. And I've seen enough. Our offensive line keeps on letting us down. Nobody can block, which means that with the game on the line, we're going to go over to Nick Harbor. He's going to route that kid up, and it's basically over. All we need is 5 more yards, and then we just have to take a knee. It will be over. Don't get into the end zone, because now we can make sure that we're going to beat a top 12 team. This is the type of result that restores a lot of hope, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have a receiver going for hundreds of yards every single game. The fact that we can do that on Heisman just shows how important speed really is. But is it everything? That's still the question we're trying to answer, as now we're about to play at 0-3 Iowa. We've already lost the first Big Ten game that we've played in, so we've won our non-conference matchups, but this is more important. And I'm excited to see how we do. It's our first one without wear and tear on. It might not make much of a difference. As broken as that system's been throughout this entire game on release, I've left it on for every rebuild. Right here, we are well underthrown Isaiah Bond. But the good thing about playing Iowa is because their offense isn't the best, they're not scoring either. We are the first team to get the ball inside the red zone. We are also going to let Isaiah Bond catch this one at least. And I feel like we just need to use our speed to the outside if we want to punch stuff in. This is the furthest down the field that the Hawkeyes have been able to make it. Using our fast users, they aren't getting the first. And here's my thing. If we can get them to bite down ever, we should have touchdowns. It's just being underthrown like every time. Nate Johnson is the sole reason that we're about to go into this half down 10-7. We gave up some more points to them. We should win that ball right there. But Nick Harbor couldn't break away from the corner. And you can just see every pass is terrible. Here's the solution though. We are going to run the football. We're going to do a halfback toss, see if that can allow us to use more of our speed. And then the real key to success might be using some of these jet touch passes if we could ever block. For how physically talented some of the players on this team are, they are just going to drive me nuts with their IQ. But I am determined to start this 3rd quarter successfully. Nate Johnson, come on, buddy. You cannot underthrow. It really doesn't matter if we're dusting these cornerbacks deep if we can't do anything with it. That was placed really well. Arian Smith just dropped it. Shocker. And on this 3rd down, once again, they didn't pick up the block, but Isaiah Bond is that good. The next time that we'd get it back, we're in a good position again. We're going to the 1. And really, the best part about this game is the fact that they just can't seem to score. Technically, this dynasty file is at least 10 years into the future. But that has not changed Iowa football at all. And here we go, 3rd and 9. If we pick this up, we're just going to seal our win, but you can see the struggle. I mean, it's not really going to make a difference. Either way, we were going to close this out. But I think we have to give a lot of credit to players like King Mack. Keep in mind, I didn't even want him to start because I knew that Kitten Crawford would have been better. The only thing I thought this safety was fast. But with a couple tactician boost from our coordinators, he seems to be playing a bit better, and we're going to go in and also give our team a tactician boost. I think we should do it at the quarterback position. Never mind. I only would have done that if I saw throw power there. Instead, all of our defensive backs are going to get a little bit of an extra push. And the next time that we're going to be playing, it's going to be against number 22 Michigan. That is going to be a very important game for us to win, because if you look at the Big Ten conference standings at the moment, we already have 1 loss. We're trying to make it to the conference championship. And at the very least, I would just appreciate if this team could make the college football playoffs, though we can't move the ball. It has not been a good start to this game. You can see that we are here in the 2nd quarter, scoring 0 points. We're getting the 1st. But here's the thing. If I sim a few plays, Nate Johnson is almost guaranteed to throw an interception or not pick stuff up. Even when I'm out there, the offense struggles. I hate playing in the rain. He is so bad. He has thrown 3 interceptions. That's the first one I've been in to actually throw. But his throwing release might be the worst one I've ever found. The recovery of being down 17-0 is not pretty, especially whenever he doesn't have a great deep ball. Nick Harbor right here could have had a touchdown. And we'll see if he can make a good pass on 3rd and 2. Never mind. We're going to scramble. We're going to run with him. And this is what he's doing right. I'm starting to think that if we're going to throw it deep, maybe we should just make it an aggressive ball to catch because this is ridiculous. We barely have enough time back there anyway to get it out. This should be a touchdown though. Barry and Brown, what are you doing? We have one last chance to get points before the half. I highly doubt that we're going to get more than 3 unless we catch this ball. And even then, we had to use our final timeout, so I'd rather kick our 3 and make sure we're on the board. It was not a good showing for those first 2 quarters. Right here though, we might have something a little bit different that could go in our favor. We put the ball on the money for like the first time in 2 games and we have a touchdown. Is all the momentum in the world on our side at the moment? Not really. But at least we're making progress and coming back, and I gotta talk about that Texas State back there. Whoever made this South Dakota State team had the wrong choice for the end zone in the stadium. I don't know why I thought I could throw that up to Nick Harbor and click on and make the play there. Like, it wasn't even close to being good. But at least we're going to get the ball back anyway, and this is what I was trying to do right here. Turn around, catch it like that, it worked. I feel like even though we have such a fast team, this has been some of the worst gameplay I've had on my channel. But you know what? If it can carry us to a championship, that'd be pretty cool. It is so obvious, though, our offensive line is simply just not holding up. We can't go with the fullback dive, which means we have one final option. We're going to get our fastest player out in space, and Chris Johnson Jr. does it. He's tied it up. This might be the method for us to have success. I mean, I've gone to running the ball like this a few times. It just seems to not get us as many yards as I would like most of the time, but the pass like this is going to. I think some faith in this team has been restored a little bit throughout this game. We've scored 24 straight. And here we go. On 3rd and 12, I've sent in a blitz. I don't know what's taken us so long to get in, but they don't pick up the first. I'm sending zone blitzes. I'm sending man-to-man blitzes. Anything to get them off the field. But all of that might not matter because with a few minutes left, they've driven down the field against us. They're going to be at the 6. And it seems like they are about to tie things up right here. I need them to throw me a pick. They threw it over. This is a huge moment in this game. 4th and goal. That was my zone. And you've got to be kidding me. When you see this, you're going to see I can't do anything. I accidentally simmed one play and we threw a pick. It is literally a guarantee with Nate Johnson. They're going to be able to pick up the first down right here too. And if we don't let them get into the end zone, this game is completely over. Stop tackling them. I might go insane right here. I'm trying to pull everybody back. Stop, stop, stop. We have no timeouts left. They're literally just taking everything down. And after all the hard work that we did, this would be such a frustrating way to go out. We break the tackle, but there's nowhere to go. At the moment, this is not a losable game for us. We got to get a throw out at least. We shouldn't have caught it. And we're just in a state of panic. I don't see how this could possibly go well for us, though we're going to try to come back to the ball right here. Nope. I have never been more frustrated with a team. Right here, Isaiah Bond is going to beat them, but he's not going to be able to go deep at all. I needed him to turn up field in that situation, and you know what? We're going to send it to our tight end. He outruns there, and we catch it. The game also wants me to risk the 2-point conversion, so that's what we have done, and it's going to pay off. Just playing with this team is way too stressful. It shouldn't have been that hard to get the win. And take a wild guess why Nate Johnson can't win player of the game. In that matchup alone, he had 5 interceptions. And nobody in the country has turned the ball over more than him. He already has 16 interceptions in 5 games. Especially with how good the Big Ten is, I just don't see how we're going to have enough success to be a playoff team. And looking at the rest of our schedule, we have our rivals North Dakota State. We have number 1 USC on the road. We have undefeated number 2 Wisconsin, which is all going to be really tough. But before we finish the rest of this video, a word from Prize Picks, today's video sponsor. College football might be over, but that just means that we can shift our focus over to college basketball, and Prize Picks is giving $50 to anybody that signs up using my code BOARD. If you think you know sports, this is a great chance to predict player performances going higher or lower on their projections. Plus, Prize Picks is now available in over 40 states. And like I said, I can get you some cash to start out with on there because Code Board will get you $50 instantly whenever you play with your first $5 plus lineup. Just make sure that you play responsibly. And now it's time to resume the rest of this video. At least for the time being though, we're playing against Northwestern. I feel like they shouldn't take us down. And that's why I'm feeling pretty good about how we've started out in this one. It's already 14-0. If we can catch this and run, Barry and Brown could pull off a 99-yard touchdown. That's gotta be an NCAA record. Plus, we're also debuting these sick yellow jerseys. This is the first game that has felt like a complete matchup where we have played very well. Nick Harbor can catch those jump balls. And I can just tell that the longer this goes on for, the worse it's going to get for Northwestern. I'm hoping that after a win like this, we can be inside the top 25. Especially since our defense showed up for the first time. They were only able to score 3 points. Believe it or not as well, Nate Johnson didn't even turn over the ball once. But unfortunately, we're not even receiving votes for the top 25 at the moment, despite losing to Oregon. That's our only loss. They're 7-0, and they're also also ranked lower. In fact, our championship contender rating has us ranked at number 45 in the current media poll. And what that means is if we're going to finish this season in the playoffs as a top 12 team, we cannot lose another game. That's just how the ranking system works in college football 25. I'm not a fan of it, but it's something we have to deal with. Unfortunately, whatever worked for us the last time we played against an Illinois team offensively has not in this one. But with 4 minutes left in the second half, our defense has only given up 6 points, which means we score a touchdown, we're going to be okay, and Berrien Brown's able to stay in bounds to run all the way to the crib. He is still one of the most fun players to use on this game. But you know what I don't appreciate? What the Fighting Illini have done. They've scored again, and this time we have Nick Harbor. It's almost like whenever the ball is put where it needs to be, we can run under it, we score pretty easily. Nate Johnson has really seemed to get that down, though we are not able to scramble with him here. But that's only because I couldn't get him his platinum magician ability that he has on his normal card. Berrien Brown dropping the ball there also doesn't help us, but you know what my go-to defensive play is going to be whenever we need to get a stop. They just can't handle the pressure. Eventually, I will get enough time back here to be able to throw this one up. It's going to be underthrown. We can still go for that aggressive catch, though. That's why you get Nick Harbor. It doesn't matter if it's underthrown because he's 6'5". He's 240. He can still snag it. And until we catch another ball like that, I have no intention of moving the ball any differently. That was such an awesome play. We could have done it again. I feel like we have neglected Chris Johnson Jr. though, so I'm letting him carry it on 3rd and 17. He was about to get it, but he couldn't pick it up. Illinois would tie things up, and this has got to be caught by Isaiah Bond. What I'm noticing pre-snap right here is they don't have proper alignment on Nick Harbor, so as long as this is accurate, we would have scored. And there it is. It's a quarterback problem. We needed Jalen Milrow. I just don't see how, even if we do make it to the playoffs, we're going to win 3 or 4 straight games, because those will be against the best of the best, and we struggled to start this year. Now we're in dogfights against very average teams in our conference. That was never open. They should have picked it. And this is exactly why I should have just been throwing it up to Nick Harbor the entire time. Here we go, though. Huge 3rd and 8 right here. They are going to fumble it away. We have picked it up. And I cannot stress enough how important that defensive stop was right there. That was Abdul Carter that got the sack. Strip sack, whatever you want to call it. Right here, I'm running with Nate Johnson. I did not have a read out there, and he is going to get in. I am really starting to like how we're mixing in these blitzes, though Abdul Carter is not going to catch their running back. The halfback draw was actually a great play call, which means with 2 minutes left in this game, the pressure is back on us. We have to be able to go all the way down the field. That read simply just wasn't there, though. Nick Harbor's not going to be able to get over to that. No, he is. I can't believe how good that pass was from Nate Johnson. He is also going to find the seam. And hang on, is our quarterback getting accurate on us? Those were 2 really crucial passes. All that we have to do is pick up a 1st down and we can run out the rest of the clock before kicking 3. But the real question is going to be, can we trust our offensive line to get that done for us? And we got stuck. This is really only one of those decisions that makes sense if you pick it up, but we're going to do so. We went for it. And my reasoning behind it was I hate to leave the door open for a team to come back. I am such an idiot though. I thought that we could take a timeout and it just went to overtime. I wasn't even thinking everything was just going to run away. I'm going to have to run it back. Here's the footage of me selecting a play with 20 seconds left, and it all just runs away. And what that means is we are in overtime for no reason. We've just made this game even harder. I am so annoyed with this team right now. They're going to run in. And both of us scored very quickly. I feel like that's something that was broken on the last patch, though. Pick the ball. And the reason for that is until the last title update, the clock would stop whenever you needed it to, right before you could kick your 3. I just can't believe the position that we are actually in this game. And here we go. 2-point conversion. They have run it, which we stopped. Well, that is a pretty crucial step right there in taking down the Fighting Illini. But we cannot get stopped on this 3rd and 2. I'm gonna let Chris Johnson Jr. go to work, and he does. If we have to run that until we get into the end zone, I gladly will. Though there's gonna be a flag. And the touchdown that we just scored is coming back because of holding. I really don't know if it's meant for us to win this game. Finally, we score. And it's time for one more speed option. Go ahead, put Chris Johnson out there, and let him just take it in. We just made that win 50 times harder than it should have been. I still cannot believe we didn't kick our 3. But you know what? That's the perseverance a championship team needs. I really think I would have gone insane if we actually lost that. Number 3, Wisconsin, undefeated, is next up on the schedule, though. So we're going to have to play much better than we just did. There are 3 undefeated 7-0 teams in the Big Ten still. After this game, though, I'm hoping that there's only 2. And I gotta say, through 1 quarter of football, I'm pretty happy with how this one is going so far. We have made sure to take a 7-0 14-3 lead. But if we could just finish off this drive, things would be looking much better for us. Chris Johnson Jr. has his chance to go for more than like 10. He just doesn't tend to do that very often, though we had the seam for a second. I think we're going to have it again right here, which is why I've put Isaiah Bond on a streak, though if it's not there, we will try to run. And all of a sudden, things aren't ideal. It is 3rd and 15, but those safeties are going to have to choose, and it's a good throw. Look at Nate Johnson, man. He is really starting to step it up for us. And I have to say, our defense is also doing really well in this matchup. We've only given up 3 points in the first half. There's a bad throw, which literally led to Wisconsin scoring 14 straight. I just jinxed our team for no reason at all. But you know us. We're going to put up a fight no matter what, and this is going to be another touchdown for Chris Johnson Jr. As long as he's finishing the drives off for us, he's doing what we need him to, though right here, the press blitz just didn't work. It is far from perfect, that's for sure, though I'm hoping that they throw an interception to the slant right here. We're going to get the sack. And I think holding them to a field goal right there is a pretty big deal. We're also going to be able to find Barry and Brown. He can't get out. But it's not like we needed to score a touchdown right there. I'm even going to hit our corner route on this next one. Isaiah Bond is going to bring it in. To be honest, now that I've played a lot of games with this team, I actually miss having a high overall roster. And the reason for that is I don't think speed matters as much in this game when it comes to performance versus some other football games I've played recently. Why would I throw that? Why would I throw that? That would literally lead to a Wisconsin touchdown. But what I was saying was I feel like overall is a lot more important. Right here, Nick Harbor just gashed everybody. I'm pretty sure the corner on him got stuck. But I've also seen high overall, like 86 speed receivers with amazing stats get open like that too. Then when it comes to stuff like the corner position, overall is definitely more important. Right here, at least we brought him down. And we've just started strictly running the ball and also trying to choose some clock. In a perfect world, Wisconsin is never going to see it again, though we're losing yards with the halfback screen. And I didn't really want to punt it to them right here, but at least it's going to be inside the 20. It's going to put us in a pretty tough spot, though, if they pick up this 3rd and 8. They've thrown it straight to Wilson. Never mind. They're like handing us the game right now. And do we even return this for a touchdown? I think what we have learned is we should take our points. So I'm glad that Raylan Wilson did, but you can also see they've had some success offensively going down to the 10. They're being pretty smart about things too. They're going to force us to use timeouts if we want it back. And they're reviewing right now if that's a catch. It clearly was. I think they're about to score a touchdown. Right here though, Raylan Wilson gets his hands up again. Don't go out of the end zone. What are you doing, buddy? Why? I was trying to pull him back. Now they are not out of this entirely. And we have to get out of danger zone. We are literally right on the 1 yard line. It's over. They still have a chance to win this game. 3 timeouts, a touchdown does it. And I'm trying to back everybody up. I know that we're fast enough. We shouldn't get burnt deep, but you really never know. Here on 2nd and 3, I'm stuck on Abdul Carter, but I get the sack. And that was the easiest sack to get of all time. We're going to try to do it again. I'm off the edge, but they have been able to dot us up. Well, it didn't count, which is a plus. On the final play of the game, they're able to complete this, but they're not going to get much farther. And that means even though I was very nervous at multiple times in those final 2 minutes, we have closed it out. Raylan Wilson with those 2 picks definitely deserves player of the game. And it might make no sense, a 7-1 Colorado State's ranked above us and a 7-2 UAB, but you know what? We're in the top 20. There is some serious hope that we could actually make the playoffs. When we started the year, UConn was ranked in like the top 5. And they clearly haven't had a great season so far, but I don't want them to catch us off guard. As far as I'm concerned, so far, we haven't done much offensively. And our rushing attack is literally pathetic with this team. Even we can't scramble. Now, hitting a 53-yarder with a 64 overall kicker is probably the hardest thing I could even try to attempt. That's not close. And if I knew they were going to score 14 straight immediately after it, I would have just gone for it. I thought I was prepared for the Huskies, knowing that they could be good, but we have done nothing offensively. We're not getting the first down. And this kick might also miss. I've done it again. I did it again. It is a true blessing that we are going to be able to punch something in with about 30 seconds left in the first half. And I'm hoping that we can also start the 3rd quarter the right way. I see we have a receiver wide open. I'm not sure what type of coverage they're out there in, but Boyd is gone. That's actually our 91 speed tight end. UConn would score again though, so now that this game's opened up a little bit, we're going to our 6'5 receiver. I mean, that guy was never going to stop Nick Harbor. What an incredible catch from him. He literally had like a half a foot advantage. This is what makes the gameplay in this game so fun though. The physics actually work. He was able to catch the ball and not drop it because he was touched. Getting down the field, we're going to get that same look again. This time he just beat the press though. We don't have to throw up a jump ball. And the Nick Harbor takeover against UConn has been a blast. We're going to do it again. Why not? This one, put right where it needs to be, 99 speed going to work. This kid is a cheat code. It's actually a shock that we've not had more of this throughout the year, considering that we're starting to score this effortlessly against the Huskies as well. I think it's pretty understandable that unless they get in right here, this game's over. I have to give them their credit though. They're doing their best to stick around. We didn't get it out, and they literally scored again, putting the pressure on us. We're going down. Normally, I'm the one that makes teams choke, but this has been a completely different experience. On 3rd and 17, they make it 4th and manageable, and we literally just tried to decapitate their quarterback right there. It's 4 verticals. We know it's coming. We hit it loose. Even though we know our defense is not the best, they have clutched up a couple times for us when we have needed it, and I don't think we can run out the rest of this clock. I think we're gonna have to throw for it and get hit. Not looking good for a 3rd and 13, though we know where Nick Harbor's about to be, and I just can't believe there is still a chance I could choke away the lead that we had, though this bounce with the punt is perfect. 97 yards down the field. That's going to be pretty hard for UConn to do. Their quarterback knew he had to run immediately, force a fumble, and it just hit me. All they have to do is get a field goal, and then we're going to be going to overtime. It feels like they've already moved the ball quite a bit, but they've only gotten to the 20-yard line. They have a lot of work to do, and it should be pretty difficult since there's not that much time left on the clock anymore. They're testing my user, and they're at midfield. I think I've seen enough. It's time to get risky. They immediately throw it away, and here we go. 3rd and 10, immediate pressure. They're panicking. This is the method right here. I want to get 6 guys in. You don't have enough time, and that's the one benefit to having speed on defense. I'm able to scheme up stuff like that, and they don't have enough time to beat us deep. The real hero in this game, though, is Nick Harbor for some of those catches, and we actually have another huge game coming up on our schedule because we play North Dakota State to end the year, but now we're playing 9-0 USC. At the moment, they have the 2 top Heisman favorites, their quarterback and their receiver, and you have to keep in mind, since we're ranked number 17, we lose another game, we're probably not in the playoffs. Any other year, having a season like this, you're like guaranteed in the top 5, but because we started ranked so low with South Dakota State, that is the real issue. And I can tell you right now, I don't like that they started the game with the first touchdown. We're still running into brick walls whenever we try to actually run the ball, so that's why we're passing. And this is a 6 versus 8 that we are not going to win. I don't even trust us to hand off the ball right here. Once again, though, throwing it works. We have a problem, though. Our defense isn't working, and I am not able to make any hot routes on this play right here, but we might just have Isaiah Bond deep anyway. That works too. The great part about this second quarter is our offense has not stopped either, though that could have been intercepted, but it feels like it just started and we've gotten all the way up to 28 points. They put themselves in a poor position due to some turnovers, though they are still scoring pretty effectively as well. Berrien Brown is going to get slammed, and I'm not sure why I believed we were going to be able to turn out of that, though right here, I think if we throw this over the zones, we could have a massive play to him. We're at the 20. It's as simple as this. Defense is not existing in this game at all. Nate Johnson right here is not getting far, but we haven't been held to a field goal yet. I am not planning on kicking our 3, and this is exactly why. Now that we have a touchdown lead, it's important that we continue to maintain a lead, maybe a 2-possession one. But here's the question. Can our offensive line hold up for long enough for us to punch it in? They did. USC would also have another terrible turnover. They've given us the ball inside the red zone twice in this game, and I feel like having the lead that we do at the moment, it's impossible for us to blow this. I mean, they had number 98, someone that is way too big to be on Berrien Brown, manned up against him, which means 10 years into the future, they still haven't figured out how to play defense either. 56 total points. That second quarter, 35 is probably the most we've scored in a quarter all year. And look at Nate Johnson throwing for almost 500 passing yards. Guess who is still going to be ranked above us, though? It's going to be 9-1 USC. We've only moved up to number 12. In fact, they're putting 7-3 Stanford and even my Kentucky Wildcats over us. And I think we're going to have a spot in the Big Ten Conference Championship if we beat North Dakota State, but if we don't, we're definitely falling out of the playoffs, and that. I knew this season was going to be a challenge, though, playing in the toughest conference on this file. Indiana is at least 1-9, so this is a bit of a break for us. And starting off strong, we should have a touchdown on this first drive as Nick Harbor goes down. I will say, some of his animations with possession catches just look super funky because of how big he is, but I like the size difference between him and the defensive backs over on that side of the field, so we're putting it up to him, and he doesn't even need an aggressive catch. This is one of those games where you can go up 21-0 and pretty much just cruise. You can also do it while having fun. I thought he held on there, but it is what it is. I feel zero fear against Indiana, so we're going for it on 4th down. We're throwing it up to Berrien Brown, and he almost had it. The lack of seriousness, though, might have hurt us, because here we are in the 4th quarter in a 28-28 game. That is right. We have not been able to close out Indiana, though we're running the same play twice in a row. And this is a 1-9 team versus a 9-1 team. team. It should never be this tight. Since we have the ball though, I'm not too worried. I know that we can pick up this drag on 3rd down. And now might be the time to start and panic. We're going for it on 4th and 6. That was a dumb risk. The way our defense has played in the second half though, I was not going to trust them. We also have a touchdown right here if Nate Johnson just hits Arian Smith. But what this is going to do is it's going to give the Hoosiers 2 minutes. Now they've done almost nothing with it. On 3rd down, they're giving a chance to Roderick Pleasant to get that interception. I'm not sure why they thought they were going to beat this kid. 99 speed's going to work right there. And that's got this entire stadium erupting. To be fair to the Hoosiers though, they were expected to play against 99 speed players on both offense and defense. What do you want them to do? They put up a pretty good fight. Nate Johnson didn't throw any picks though. So we should have probably scored more points, and this is the game that we've had circled all year. I literally built up this North Dakota State team in another rebuild. I think I posted it like a week ago. And I can already remember recruiting some of these players. They have a 91 speed quarterback. They're going to have a lot of 90 overalls, which means we have got to be at the top of our game. In order to do so, scoring on the first drive would be pretty nice. Nick Harbor's able to route that kid up, and I was going to throw it there whether he got open or not. The great thing is the longer this one's gone on so far, we have just been able to do whatever we have wanted to. They aren't moving the ball offensively. And we actually have a chance to go up 17-0 here in the second quarter, though we're not going to do it yet. I think we might as well get Isaiah Bond involved right here. He is just going to speed away, get that touchdown. And this might be the best that we have come to play throughout the year all season. Nate Johnson rushing for the first down, also missing that tackle right there. And we are doing everything right. We literally can't do wrong at the moment. All of these fans are just getting left disappointed, but that's okay with me. In a matchup that I thought was going to be super tight, we won 52-7. I almost feel like whenever we play against the best teams in the country, we just played a whole other level. But they could have also been a bit overrated, and we're getting a rematch versus Oregon. If we're going to prepare for this, we're going to have to go down the tactician tree even more. I want to make sure that our linebackers get a little bit better, but also our defensive line, because I know we have a 65 overall Jack Moran starting out there. And I mean, our team's carried us far. We did well in the Big Ten besides when we played the Ducks, but we also won a lot of super close games. I do wish I could say we had somebody in the Heisman race to watch out for as well, but we don't. So the only thing that we're focusing on whenever we play the Ducks is that we don't lose. The last time that we took on Oregon, it was on our home field. This one's on a neutral site, which theoretically should make this game even harder, but we'll see if it works out that way. Isaiah Bond should have had a catch here. I don't know why he wasn't just turning around to the ball. That is very frustrating, but we are going to run if we're not going to hold on to it. It's crucial that we're able to respond right here. Oregon was able to get the first 7. I don't know what that throw was, but they got us acting up at the moment, and I can see Berrien Brown is going to win that leverage if he just runs under the ball. That's like a Jeremiah Smith type play to seal the national championship, except ours was a touchdown. It just tied up the game in the first quarter, trying to get us into the playoffs, and right here, we are still going for some huge plays. Nate Johnson might be like a 77 overall, but I play like he's a 90 still, and Berrien Brown has gotten off to a very hot start. I'm still testing out my blitzing on 3rd down and zone coverages as well. It's working, and I don't know if it's just me, if I'm the problem, but I really struggle to get punt returns and kick returns on this game. Maybe I am the issue. I might have had a lane. We have a 98 speed returner back there. I wanted to get at least one this season. It's just not happened so far. Using Playmaker, I don't know if this is going to be open, but we're going to throw it up to Bond anyway. And this is my entire offensive philosophy. We just start throwing stuff up because we have the fastest team in the country, and every so often we're going to make those plays. I think we've come a long way from how we were doing in those first couple weeks when we first played against Oregon, though that was the worst jump ball I think I've ever seen. And this is not the time to be going for highlight moments with Nick Harbor. We could have done that all year. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to be making too much of a difference so far because Oregon keeps on doing man-to-man. But throughout the third quarter, they fought their way back into this game. Now they are tied up 21-all, which is far from ideal. I can see that Nick Harbor's about to get open right here, though. He just has to turn around. The motions on this game still throw off the defense, which is why we cannot experience that on 3rd and 4. They are literally running for their life. I'm not doing anything special when we do that either. I would argue that's when our coverage is worse than it's ever been before. If Nate Johnson has the arm to make this throw, we really could seal it. Even here, I can see Nick Harbor is just set up for success over on that left side. I mean, Oregon is doing this to themselves. What are you doing? I guess that's his 78 overall coming out in him. I can't believe that he didn't get that catch. He would hold on to this though, wouldn't he? Of course he would. There was no doubt in my mind that he wasn't going to make that play. That's why I said it before he even had a chance to make a catch. Look at Nate Johnson just running for his life. I don't know how 97 was keeping up. Either way, it is looking like we're about to put away the Ducks in the Big Ten Championship. And we're about to scream on this 3rd and 15. This is what we're looking for. I've done it. I've cracked the code. We just have to keep on putting in 6. And if they don't have one extra blocker back there to pick it up, it's game over for them. We'd get the win. With Nate Johnson playing extremely well too. We're about to take a look at season stats, but he would have won the Heisman without interceptions. At least I think he would have, because I was able to win Coach of the Year with our one loss. That's pretty impressive right there. It looks like the Heisman winner went to a receiver with 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns. We definitely did better than that. I don't really understand the voting process there. Of course, Abdul Carter made a difference. And even though Roderick Pleasant's only like a 77 overall, with his 99 speed, he won the best defensive back in the country. We actually won way more awards than we should have. Chris Johnson Jr. was the best running back. I think we also had the best tight end, wherever that's at, which makes no sense. Avery Boyd had like 500 receiving yards. And he was our 4th receiver, but I guess we shouldn't have had one of these guys winning the Heisman, because although Nick Harbor had a ton of yards, he didn't have as many touchdowns as the Heisman winner. From a rushing perspective, I didn't realize Chris Johnson Jr. had 19 rushing touchdowns. That might make a little bit more sense why he won that award. And here is what we were able to do with Nate Johnson. 4,600 passing yards in 13 games is incredible. Completion percentage isn't the best, but it's the 24 interceptions that just really held him back. To be fair though, I probably threw half of those. It looks like on our side of the bracket, we're going to have a team like Alabama that's scary, but that's about it. Whether we got Stanford or North Carolina, I was going to be okay with it either way. And we average 40 points per game to their 29. I'm hoping that we can just run up the score, though they're an 89. They're also ranked number 5 in the country. This could be a little bit tougher than I was thinking, but we've made it this far and we cannot lose it now. Here on our first drive, I can tell that we're going to have this route open deep if it's placed properly. It's held on to. So this is a great way to open up the Rose Bowl, but there's a long way to go. I'm a pretty firm believer in send in 6 though. They were able to pick it up in this situation. So there's the computer stopping it. And they got a touchdown out of that drive. Now it's our turn to respond with the fastest team, and there will be a first at least. That's really all I need. Then I can take some shots down the field. If I don't like any of the looks, we'll just take off with Nate Johnson. He hasn't run for as many yards as I was hoping he would have. But I'm still blaming that on the fact that I just couldn't get the player abilities into Dynasty since I had to recreate them. And right here, he gets in. He might not have Platinum Magician, but his speed just takes over. And I kind of wish that Stanford would just chill out, so I was not as stressed at the moment. Though our tight end gashing 2 defensive backs is hilarious. They can't keep up with him. All it took for us to start having so much more success was Nate Johnson putting the ball where it needed to be. And I can't believe they're not even reviewing whether or not that was a catch. We're throwing this one up to Nick Harbor. I'm going for the aggressive catch, whether we need it or not. It is so overpowered for the fastest receiver in the country to also be like the biggest, especially since his catching stats haven't seemed to matter. We're going back over to him on this play because later on in the game, it was 28-23. But literally, after one throw up to him, we now have a 2-possession lead again. I just don't know what else Stanford can do about it, though I'm starting to hate the blitz. And it might be better out of man-to-man coverage, though if they hand it off, they could have a touchdown right here. Even the fastest team in the country can't catch them. To be honest, though, this is the high-scoring matchups I was expecting once we got to the playoffs. But we are barely just staying in front, and that is with 0 turnovers from Nate Johnson. We're not getting another. Are we seriously getting another? That ended up being the turning point in this game. Ever since then, Stanford's just seemed a bit lost. And up by 19 points with 3 minutes left, there's really not much they can do, especially if Nick Harbor finds the end zone again. If he had this performance during the regular season, I think he would have won the Heisman. But we also have to give credit to our defense for stepping it up at the end of the half there. Nate Johnson won player of the game. And that shocks me a little bit, but he did have 7 passing touchdowns compared to 4 receiving ones from Nick. It's definitely helped us out as well that as I level up, I've been putting more points into Tactician. Like our entire defense is getting a boost they weren't at the beginning of the year. And it looks like in the next round, we're getting number 2 Syracuse. To be honest, with the way they beat the Crimson Tide, that might be worse than getting Alabama. Oregon's also still alive in the playoffs. And we're experiencing a few injuries. Our best left tackle is going to be injured. We're also missing Jack Moran, which means we're going to have a better left end in, though Harold Perkins Jr. being out, one of our best linebackers, is a crucial loss. None of those players will be back for the final game or two. We have got to make sure that that does not hold us back. And after the way that we started this year, I'm just glad we've made it this far. I mean, you might think having a team full of 99 speed receivers or 98 speed is just a guaranteed championship. But what we have learned is it isn't everything. There are other things that we can struggle with like that. Though I will say, if I had somebody like Jalen Milroe at quarterback, I'm not sure there would be a game closer than like 4 possessions. Especially if we had a better offensive line, this would be the easiest thing to do in the world because you just throw it up to your best receivers whenever you have enough time. But I tried to refrain from it for at least a little bit, and here we're going to let Nate Johnson scramble. This is different than us throwing it. It's really underwhelming though anytime that we do something like that instead of just putting it in. And let's see if Syracuse's quarterback can handle the pressure. He is going to get this one out, and that's exactly why we have to go away from it. I say that as we're going to give it one more try because we just got off the edge quick. And they were in hurry up mode. I couldn't get out of it anyway. On 3rd and 16, as long as they don't get this, we're fine. There is a flag against us though. We hit their quarterback late, and Abdul Carter getting roughing the passer called on him could have hurt us so bad. Fortunately, by the end of the drive, they're only going to get 3. And you know what we need to do. We have not gotten enough points in this one so far. We just made sure that safety had to pick one. You can't guard both of them. I also see the type of build that they have over there on Nick Harbor at the moment. That kid isn't going to stop him. So this should be another pretty easy touchdown for us, and it is. The longer that this game goes on for us, the better it's looking for us because we've handled things well. Making sure that most of this second half has gone by pretty quick, and even if we don't get the first, we have set ourselves up to go for it on 4th and 2, where we should have had a block there, but we're so fast it won't matter. Syracuse is starting to really fall behind now, which is why they needed to score as quick as they did, but they just didn't have the alignment out there to stop us. I'm not sure why they thought that'd work. By refraining from running the ball still, we're probably hurting ourselves more than we're helping, but I also enjoy just running up the score. And I highly doubt I will ever have a receiving core that is more fun to play with than the one that we have on this South Dakota State team. I mean, think about it. Isaiah Bond, a beast, is wide receiver 3. And Oregon took down Georgia, so it's time for our best of 3 series against them. We know they got the first laugh, winning 45-21 when all hope felt lost for this team, but then we got them back, beating them by double the score. And now, whether or not you can win a championship with the fastest team all comes down to one game. If there's anybody that's going to take us down, it's probably them. But I feel like by now we've been on fire for so long, we're not going to lose. I say that as they start out up 14-0, and our defense has literally been non-existent so far as they just stuck with our receivers, but right here, Barian Brown's gone. Also, how did we get stronger in the arm? Am I tripping out, or does it seem like Nate Johnson can throw the ball a little bit farther than he did at one point? Some games this season, it felt like he couldn't get it more than 40. That was there, though. And a 21-0 comeback would be pretty amazing. I just hate we were in that position in the first place. We've scored the next 14. We're looking for a defensive stop. And I had enough time to bring the safety down to cover those 4 verticals, which means all they could do is run right here. That was exactly how things had to be done. I like the odds of Nick Harbor catching this ball in one-on-one coverage. I could possession catch it. And here on 3rd and 7, I did not have enough time to set everything up, but they still can't go anywhere. They might have had the upper edge on us offensively earlier on in this game, but now they're starting to struggle. Right here, we got to cut it back and then not get caught, because that could have been the kick return for a touchdown I've been looking for, but either way, they can't guard everybody over on that side of the field. I might even just put this one in Nick Harbor's hands, see if he can catch this. That would have been amazing. Even if it was not open in the slightest, sometimes you have to go for the highlights, and an out of reach throw is going to get Oregon right back in it. We were on a roll, and we're going to start this second half with a touchdown most likely, but that just felt like it killed so much momentum, and we are going to kick our 3. Since we have to do it from the hash mark as well, I can't even guarantee it's going to go in, but it did. And then Oregon was the next team to get on the board, which means here with 7 minutes left in the matchup, we're down by 4. That could have been farther. It really comes down to Nate Johnson's accuracy right here. I don't know if I can even trust him to make this pass. It's severely underthrown, and it wasn't really open unless you have an extremely strong quarterback, but if we can get this drag, we would have been fine. I'm probably panicking to go for it in this situation, but I trust our curl route, and this is a very crucial drive to finish off still, though we fumbled it away. We can't even pick it up until the last second, which means we are now in a terrible spot on 3rd and 20, though they are going to let Barian Brown get behind him. The pressure is really on at the moment. Our slant isn't even getting that open. We just have the bigger dude. And you know how I'm feeling on 3rd and 6. I was ready to send a blitz, but they just ran it. That was such a weird decision. They just settled for 3. I mean, it did tie the game up, but it just made it extremely easy for us to win. Right here, could this be the first kick return? This is what we have been waiting for. Anthony is getting loose. It's our wide receiver 6. Finally! It took me playing 15 games for that to happen. What are we doing in front of the camera? Either way, what a moment. It's only going to matter if we can hold on to our lead here at the end. And I can't believe the computer just put the ball there, especially with all the zones that we had in the area. I was not expecting it. This cannot be an overtime game though, and it's starting to look like it might be. They're not running for it. They're still going to have to get quite a bit more, and it looks like they are missing that pass. All right, here we go. It's 4th and 1. I knew that they would have to throw it. We got in pressure. And do you know who number 30 is? It is 64 overall, the lowest overall on this team, Alonzo Jackson Jr. His speed paid off because he was able to get there so fast. We have won the national championship with the fastest team. And talk about a crazy run. Maybe not the hardest season ever, but there were a ton of very fun moments and close games. The stats are going to look absurd as well. I'm just glad that I figured out a way to bring back one of my favorite things to do on NCAA Football 14, creating custom teams in the game based off of real life players. And if there's any other type of custom team you want me to build down in the comments, like a team out of just transfer portal players or something, make sure to let me know and maybe I'll make it happen.